Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the best Magic the Gathering singles and sealed retailer on the internet, GatheringMagic.com, your number one source for Magic the Gathering news and content, and RogueDeckBuilder.com, my personal channel filled with innovative and entertaining Magic the Gathering rogue brews. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com here with this week's episode of Playing on a Budget. I'm going to admit something here. This is going to go over our budget a little bit this week. We're at a point where it's incredibly hard to be innovative and creative with Modern and still stick under that $200 budget. I think we set the $200 budget when the average Modern deck was around $700. And now the average Modern deck, I believe, is $1,100. We're really approaching like over the $1,000 mark for the vast majority of Tier 1 and Tier 2 Modern decks. So for this week, I'm going to just push it to the $250 mark, and it was really just so I could include Flooded Strands in this build, because I think that we do want some sort of fetch land to try to get these Needle Spires online, and I really think that the Needle Spires give it another avenue to victory. Just late game, if they've cleared our threats, we can attack in. I'll get to that in a minute with the deck tech. So this is a Puresteel Paladin list. And it is a budget list, so it's not going to be quite as explosive as decks that use Mox Opals. But Mox Opals cannot be put in a budget list right now when they're, over $40 a piece. So this is going to be my best take on a budget Puresteel Paladin. There's two ways to build Puresteel Paladin. One way is to go a storm count, like try to storm off and go with Grape Shot by casting a ton of equipment for free, basically. You play a bunch of the zero-cost equipments and then cast something like Grape Shot. Or you can even use a Monastery Mentor type strategy to cast a bunch of artifacts for free and get a bunch of 1/1 prowess tokens that then can swing in for lethal, especially if you have a way to give them all haste. And there's a lot of ways to have that. Even Jeskai Ascendancy has that sort of Puresteel. You can throw it in with a Puresteel deck and then have that kind of storm feel to Puresteel. This one is the Mortarpod, Lightning Greaves, Viridian Longbow, Puresteel Paladin combo. And how it works is you try to get one of the Lightning Greaves. This gives all your guys haste. One Mortarpod. This allows all your living weapons to be sacrificed. And then you also have one of the, one of Basilisk Collar. So you need the Viridian Longbow, which they can tap, deal 1 damage to our creature player. That's why you need to give them haste with Lightning Greaves. And then Mortarpod, so you can sacrifice them. So then everything in your deck can do 2 damage. Every one of the living weapons that comes out. And usually they just run 4 Flayer Husk and then 1 Mortarpod. But for this list, I'm not running any of the expensive like Batter Skulls or sort of Fire and Light or Fire and Ice or Light and Shadow. So I thought we had to get creative with the budget. I think Mortarpod's fine, though, because it gives you the creature that you want to sacrifice. And you definitely do need to find a Mortarpod. And it's one of the harder ones to tutor up because it can't be tutored up with Trinket Mage. So everything else in the deck can be, besides Lightning Greaves, all the other equipment can be tutored up with Trinket Mage. We'll get to Trinket Mage in a second. So that's just the gist of the deck, is you try to get a Puresteel Paladin to draw a bunch of cards to find your combo. And then you just have to do some math to see if you can do 20 damage in 1 turn. And everything else in the deck is just to help get you there. The Stonehaven Outfitter is awesome because this is our Skull Clamp type card in the deck. It says whenever equipped creature you control dies, draw cards. So all of your living, if you have like a Puresteel Paladin and a Stonehaven Outfitter out, all of your Mortarpods and your Flayer Husk are going to draw you 2 cards. And you'll just be able to go through your deck like crazy. Like I thought about putting like Simian Spirit Guides in here just to give it a little more. But the red is just really not that necessary in the deck. A lot of other decks use other alternate win conditions, like I said, the Batter Skull and the sort of Fire and Ice, and like an Inkmoth Nexus to then have an Infect. So you could easily just do 10 Infect, like what you can do on 1 turn if they've handled a bunch of your creatures and all you have left is a bunch of equipments, like the Flayer Husk gives +1/+1, the Sylvok Lifestaff gives +1/+0, the Batter Skull would give +4/+4. You could equip it all to an Inkmoth Nexus and swing in for lethal on 1 turn. So anyway, let's halt the deck tech really quick. I'm going to show you by our sponsors, CoolStuffInc.com, what the budget looks like. I've got it around $246 right now. There are some expensive pieces in here, like the Flooded Strands are going to be the majority of the deck. I'm hoping that Wizards can eventually address this because I, along with a lot of other players, do not like the fact that Modern, the majority of the money is spent towards lands, and you can play lands that are not as good, but in this deck, like, I really want Flooded Strands because they help you fix your 3 colors, but just a very, very subtle red. And I think that subtle red is very important, though, so I don't want to cut it from the deck, and it requires something like Flooded Strand. If you take the Flooded Strands out, if you take the red out, you can easily push this down to $150, maybe even $125, because you can see, look, the Flooded Strands are just $87 of the deck. And then everything else in here, I think the most expensive card is Hangarback Walker after that at $10 a piece. So you can see, like, the Puresteel Paladins are 5, and they're the whole deck revolves around these. So they're a budget card as far as the centerpiece. And then the Sacred Foundries, we're running just one. That's $12.50. Seachrome Coast is 7. I think it's just one of the best lands for blue and white. And like it comes out early. It will come into play tapped on turn 4, but on turn 1, 2, or 3, it will come into play untapped. And you should try to be winning by turn 3 with this deck. The good news about Puresteel Paladins, it can be a grindy deck, but the Stonehaven Outfitters are very budget right now at $1, and Steelshaper's gifts at $4. Everything else is pretty budget. So we'll go back over to the deck tech. All right, so the Aether Grid is in here for another way to deal damage. So this makes our Flayer Husk be able to tap the actual equipment. I mean, it's really weird with how Magic works, is you can have a tapped equipment and then still equip it, and so it just gives these artifacts more value. I thought about putting a 1 of Darksteel Citadel in here because it's something you can tutor up with Trinket Mage, but ultimately I thought we really, really, really needed to fix our mana. Then the Steelshaper's gifts and the Trinket Mage are just trying to tutor up the pieces you need. We have like a 1 of Basilisk Collar that gives Death Touch and Lifelink, which basically turns all our Mortarpods into hard removal. We have a Sylvok Lifestaff that can gain 3 life whenever equipped creature dies, so this can put us above the like burn type strategies where you can gain just an obscene amount of life. We talked about the Viridian Longbow. The Paradise Mantle, this helps us fix with certain mana, especially if you have Lightning Greaves out. It gives all of the living weapons, all the little bug tokens, whatever they're called, the germ tokens, the ability to tap for mana, which I think is very, very good in this deck. It also lets like Puresteel Paladin and the Outfitter tap for some mana to get exactly what we need. And it's just good as a 1 of. You don't need more than 1. We'll tutor up with Trinket Mage or the Steelshaper's Gift. We have the Etherium Sculptors is just one of the additions that I put in here. A lot of them have like Path to Exiles, and we couldn't afford paths in this deck. And there is an alternate, the Metalcraft Path to Exile dispatch, but I was just very hesitant because you want to be using Path to Exile very early, and by the time you have Metalcraft with this deck might be turn 3, turn 2, turn 3, and at that point you want to go off. You don't really want to be using mana to exile a card, so maybe we'll put some dispatches in here if we need it. We have the Myr Retriever, just because I thought this is a cute little combo. If you have 2 Etherium Sculptors out and find both your Myr Retrievers, you can basically go infinite with the Mortarpod. So the Myr Retriever sacks to find a Myr Retriever, to sack to find a Myr Retriever, to sack to find a Myr Retriever, and then the Etherium Sculptor. Between Paradise Mantle and Etherium Sculptors, you can reduce the cost. So I might go down in the count of Etherium Sculptors and up the count of Myr Retrievers. I don't know the right number. Hangarback Walker is extremely powerful in this deck because when it sacks, it leaves back another 1/1. Or if you have 2 counters onto the 2/2. And that's another reason why we're running so many Etherium Sculptors, because they're going to reduce the cost of Hangarback Walkers. If you have 2 of these out, they're free, and then if you dump any more mana into them, just the more tokens, the merrier. They work very well with Paradise Mantles and the Viridian Longbows and all of those cards. The Puresteel Paladin, we do need Metalcraft to make all the equips cost nothing. And so this deck just becomes very efficient if you find all the pieces. The sideboard is really up to the metagame right now. I like Timely Reinforcements. It gives us more 1/1s to sacrifice and will really put us ahead of... It's nearly impossible for Burn to come back from Timely Reinforcements. You gain 6 life, which is usually 2 of their burn spells, as well as 3 chump blockers. We have 3 Wear and Tears. This will get rid of Worships. This will get rid of any sort of Ensnaring Bridge. We don't care about Ensnaring Bridge, though. Any artifact that's giving us problems, we can get rid of. Stony Silence needs to go, and so Tear needs to be... I think we actually might need to go up in the count. I had there's a instant speed enchantment that... or instant that kills all enchantments for 3 mana. I had this in here at one point, but I thought the Wear and Tears was good enough. 3 Dismembers just for control, and 2 Echoing Truths. I like Echoing Truth in this deck because you can actually use it to return all of your Flayer Husks to recast. I think that's a very, very good ability. Once you've killed off all of your germs, then you can Echoing Truth back your Flayer Husk and then recast them, often for free, because we do have Etherium Sculptors in the deck, or the Paradise Mantle, and then the Puresteel Paladin will draw us more cards, the Stonehaven Outfitter will draw us more cards, and then we'll find the amount of damage. So Echoing Truth might need to be main board. I'm using Retract right now. Retract returns all artifacts you control the owner's hand. So same thing. If you even Retract with the Puresteel Paladin with just 2 artifacts, then you're basically getting your value out of Retract. It feels like the one Affinity uses the Thoughtcast, but for our deck we can. I mean, it actually will get us back like cards to retap for the Longbows and the Aether Grids. It's just a very, very good card. And I had 4 at one point, but a lot of times you don't need to see more than 1. You'll see how efficient this deck is once it finds its pieces. You'll be able to, if you have a Paladin or an Outfitter out, you can go through the vast majority of your deck. The Needle, Cage, and Relic of Progenitus are just what we call the Trinket Mage toolbox. We'll bring these in against certain decks that they're going to be. The Cage is good against Collected Company decks and Court of Calling decks. The Relic of Progenitus is also good versus any of those decks that have Eternal Witnesses or use their graveyards. They can get rid of Kitchen Finks when they try to go infinite with the combo. And the Needle can also shut down the Saraseer. So a lot of these cards will come in mainly versus this package here will come in versus the core decks. And there's still plenty of like Living End decks running around that you can punish with the Relic of Progenitus. Unfortunately, the way to get it is through Trinket Mage. I thought about running a higher count of Trinket Mage and a lower count of Steelshaper's Gifts, but Steelshaper Gifts is really our first turn play. If we don't drop like an equipment first turn, we can drop the Steelshaper's Gift and kind of set up our hand. So this deck is good versus creature-based decks. It's good versus other fair decks. It's also decent versus combo decks because you can outrace it. I'm not sure how well it's going to stack up versus Eldrazi. I don't think anything stacks up very well versus Eldrazi, to be honest, but that menace should be gone within a few months. We're all expecting a ban list as the Eldrazi have totally dominated the format. The good news is, though, a lot of the more recent MTGO finishes, Eldrazi has just been about 25% of the 5.0 decks. It's really, it went from 60 to 40 to 20. I mean, it's going down. I don't know if it's just people are sick of playing the deck, or if people are actually finding legitimate answers towards Eldrazi, but I just still feel that the mana base for Eldrazi is just too consistent right now, and something needs to change. Anyhow, we'll queue this up in a league. So we'll play 4 on the Gathering Magic channel. I'll play the 5th one on my Rogue Deck Builder channel, and just kind of cross promote the channels. Anyway, this has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching Playing on a Budget. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Gathering Magic and check out our Playing on a Budget playlist, which contains every episode. Thanks again, and hope to see you soon.